Arvind, to start out with, maybe talk a little bit about your journey, your founding journey, your entrepreneurial journey. You've done many, many successful startups over your career. Like I think first time we met, you said every startup you've been at has been very successful. So just say a bit more about your journey.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for giving me this chance to talk to you here. I really appreciate the opportunity. I'll just introduce myself, my background. So currently, I'm the founder and CEO of Glean, which is an enterprise AI company. Actually, the first Gen AI company for the enterprise that brought transformers to the enterprise. We started the company in 2019. Before that, I was doing another startup. We started that in early 2014. And then I spent a large part of my career at Google. And then a few more startups, as Vibhor said before that. So that's my background. Thanks for having me here.
Great. Thanks, Arvind. So, Arvind, when, from the Rubrik journey, so what lessons from Rubrik, which is the data protection company, sort of shaped your approach when you started Glean?
Well, I mean, I think one of the things I learned from Google, from Rubrik, was that as an engineer, before my hesitation in starting a new project or a company would always be that, well, building the product is easy and selling it and convincing people to buy it, building the business is the hard part. Because, that's like as an engineer, whatever you know how to do, you feel, that's the easy part. But then over the years, I've actually learned that the most difficult part of building great companies is building great products. And if you build great products, then everything else sort of follows. Like, of course, you have to work hard to build the business and make all the right decisions. And that actually has allowed me to feel more free as an engineer to actually jump into more ventures.
Makes sense. So Arvind, is there an emotionally defining moment that comes to mind in your various startup journeys? It's never the 0 to 1, like everybody looks at Glean now and it's one of the most successful AI companies, the fastest growing AI company, et cetera. But either at Rubrik or was there an emotionally defining moment where you didn't think we would make it and then here you are? So everybody always thinks of success as this overnight thing. It's never this linear and straightforward.
It absolutely isn't. I mean, and startup journeys are very, very hard and difficult. And for me, I have an engineer mindset, which is constant questioning and doubt. And so that doesn't make it easy, when you're actually trying to start a company, because, you're constantly doubting your own ideas. And there are all these, companies that have been around for so many decades and are worldwide brands. And how do you really beat them? And so I think these doubts have always been part of journeys, and there are always big up and downs. For us at Glean, for example, when we started, we were an enterprise search company, and while it was a fascinating problem for me as a user, as a frustrated user who could never find anything I needed to when I'm doing my work inside my company, it was a great product to build, but it was a terrible business to build. Because there have never been any success in enterprise search, and when we started, most people I would go and pitch the product to them, and they would say, yeah, it makes sense. I have the same pain myself. I know my team has it, but this is not the number one thing that I'm worried about. And so we had lots and lots of rejection as when we started, and it would then put these questions in my mind that are we on the right thing? But I think sometimes you just have to go back to the starting moment. Why did you even start this company, and has anything changed? Did the problem actually disappear? When we started, we knew that everybody in the world faced this problem. They couldn't find information. They couldn't get answers to their questions, and then that problem actually is still even today. It's the same problem. Everybody has it. And so we just keep going, and that's how you go through the ups and downs.
Perfect. Well, that's great. And what have you unlearned over the years? So as a founder, when you go through multiple startups, I'm sure there are some things you've said, look, this worked the last time, it'll work the next time. But are there certain things where you said, I will not do it at this startup that I did at the previous startup?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think first let's be a little bit more human. Unfortunately, most of the good things that you learn, you forget, and then you make the same mistakes again.
Yeah.
And I think that's a bigger problem. For me, I also keep making the same mistakes over and over again. But I think in terms of like things, that we explicitly chose to stay away from, I think like one of the things which um, after my rubric experience, I felt that it was important to as a technology company, I really wanted to build a product that everybody in our company uses very actively every day. And that was an important thing for me, because I felt that like sometimes, when you don't build for yourself and when you build for others, there's a distance between like how attached you are to that product and how aligned you are to the mission. And so that's one of the things that was important for us when we started Glean. Everybody in our company absolutely loves the product because they use it every single day. They all have ideas. The product doesn't work all the time. In fact, it does a lot of things, which are not great. But then we keep getting all those ideas from everybody in our company, and you have this sort of collective innovation that happens across like hundreds of thousands of people. So that's one thing that I love, and that was one of the things which I wanted to explicitly change from my previous startup when we started this.
Makes sense. So Arvind, for those people that may have not heard of Glean, could you just describe what Glean does? You started with the enterprise search, you said, but where is it now? What's your vision for the company and the product?
Yeah, so when we started, like our vision was very, very simple. And so the way Glean works is that you bring Glean inside your company, you connect it with all of your enterprise systems like Google Drive, SharePoint, Slack, Jira, Confluence, Workday, basically all those systems where work happens on a day-to-day basis. You connect all of those systems to Glean. Now we go and understand all the information, data, knowledge inside your company. We also understand who your people are, build a deep understanding of how work happens inside your enterprise. And now, with all of that learnings, we give you a few different products. You can go to Glean and ask questions, and we'll surface the right information back to you. As the AI models have gotten better, so you can now, not just like when you ask questions, we don't surface just the information back to you. We'll actually answer those questions with you, and we'll engage in a conversation. And then, like as people started to use Glean 2 years back, we started to get a lot of demands from our customers, who said that, like, look, you have connected all of our company's data and knowledge and information, brought it in one place, and you're making sense of it. We actually want to use this underlying platform directly ourselves to build more applications. And so that's when our agent journey started. And now Glean is an enterprise AI agent platform. You can come to Glean and build agents across many different use cases, like different teams, departments. Since we're connected to all of the informations, we're connected to HR systems, engineering systems, sales systems. So you can actually now start to build agents for different use cases across all of these different teams, like legal, finance, HR, engineering, sales, support, all in this one horizontal AI platform that we built.
That's great. How many people here work in AI startups, or even just use AI in general at work? So quite a few. So Arvind, for the group, there is always this debate. So Writer, one of our portfolio companies, they ended up building their own model, a 7 billion to 70 billion type parameter model for corporate data. But then you have been using third-party models. So this whole area of should I build my own? Should I just use OpenAI or Anthropic? How do you decide? And how should startups think about that decision?
Yeah. Well, I don't think any startup should, start with building models. Like, I think there is. I think one thing should be clear, that the foundation models are generally more capable than any specialized model that you're going to actually build. Specialized models could be better in the sense that they could be cheaper and as good as the foundation model, maybe a little bit faster, but not in terms of like quality or reasoning. For that, foundation models are actually the best. So I think from a point of view of like how we think about it, number one, like at Glean, our model is to not reinvent. We want to make sure that we leverage and utilize all the innovation that's happening in the industry, and then we do things that others are not focused on. So when it comes to LLMs, we actually use third-party models because they're all really, really good, and we have the ability to actually use them and bring them into our product. In fact, our customers love us because we're able to bring all the model innovation that's happening across the industry, whether it's from OpenAI or Google or Anthropic or X, we're able to actually bring the best of all of those models to our customers in a safe and secure way. But then there are some models that we build internally ourselves, because one of the ways to make AI work in the enterprise is that you have to deeply understand that business, the people, the business, the processes, and how work happens inside a company. And for those, you need to build semantic models using transformers, where you train those models on the specific data inside that enterprise. But that's our model. Don't reinvent. Use the innovation that's happening out there, and that's my answer to any other startup as well. You start, you don't have to worry about cost, you don't have to worry about speed. The first thing you have to worry about when building an AI application is make sure it works correctly, and to make it work correctly, use the best model that's out there.
Makes sense. So then, Arvind, the enterprise search market, right? It's become really, really hot all of a sudden, right? So what's your take on, what would it take to win in the enterprise search market?
Yeah. Well, so first, an interesting story. So when I was starting the company in early 2019, I think I was talking to some investors in late 2018 as well. And I was coming off, from I was at a startup that was actually quite successful. We had, it was a multi-billion-dollar outcome. And so investors in the Valley, their model is that, if they see somebody who had success one time, they want to back them. And so people wanted to back me to start another company. But there were quite a few who actually, all their excitement would certainly disappear when I told them that I was going to work on enterprise search. Because, this was sort of probably the worst, investment that anybody thought they could make. It was a market that nobody wanted to be in.
Yeah, we are not very intelligent as an investor community. Yeah.
So it's actually an interesting thing. That's how far people wanted to be with, from enterprise search at the time. And so we started the company for the first 5 years, we were actually alone. People were still not interested, despite some of the success that we were having. And then AI and the chat GPT, it sort of changed everything. And people started to see the value of search, because this is the core foundation for making AI work in your enterprise. The AI models are great, but they're trained on, public world's data. And to actually leverage their strength in your enterprise, you have to have something that brings your enterprise data to these models. And search, of course, is the primary way of doing that. So that's why search became so hot. And that's why now I think you can take the top 10 or 15 SaaS companies in the world, and they're all building a search product to come and compete with us.
Got it. So Google and Microsoft keep you up at night?
I mean, look, we know we are in this hyper-competitive market. We also know that we have a 5-year lead on all of these players. We've gone through so many learnings, in the battlefield, in the war zone. Enterprise environments are very complicated, and any company thinking that they can build a few connectors and when there you go, you have a good search product, you can make AI work. I think they will find out only with experience that it takes a lot more than that. So I think for us, the goal is to stay focused and win and keep extending our lead in this market. And the way we I think the other thing that also works for us that we are focused. We have a large team. Glean is almost 1,000 people now. We have an engineering team of probably 400 people. And that amount of investment, going deep into enterprise to build this enterprise brain and core search experience, we believe that we are investing more than anybody else, and we're only focused on that. That's what's going to allow us to win.
That's great. And then, Arvind, since you have an AI agent framework, could you maybe some customer case study that comes to mind? You're to name the customer and how they're using agents and how they're successfully being successful with it.
Yeah, so we have so Glean has, since it's a horizontal AI platform, it's connected to all of your systems. We have a lot of use cases across engineering, sales, support, and so I'll give you a few that I've heard of. There's every 6 months, every year, everybody has to write what you accomplished, in your last 6 months or a year. And that's the process that I don't know how many of you enjoy doing that process. Maybe I can see a show of hands. And it's not and so nobody wants to do that. But the good thing is that AI is actually really good at keeping track of all of the work that you've done over the last 1 year, starting with very granular data, and it can actually bubble up, summarize, and write a really good, first draft of your self-assessment. And so that's actually a very popular agent that now businesses are actually rolling out in their core people performance management processes. Like as an individual, you're still in control. You just get help in writing it. So that's an interesting one. But then if you think about ROI, big ROI, like where it comes. Customer service is a big example. So customers that have more than 50,000 customer service agents, and now they actually use Glean as integrated in their system, so that when a new ticket comes from a customer, Glean has already worked on it and solved and created a resolution that the agent can then quickly go and share with the customer. And that has actually allowed our customers, one of them, the largest telecom company, one of the largest ones in the US, they've actually seen 42% reduction in case resolution time, and that's hundreds of millions of dollars in savings for them.
Makes sense. I mean, do you see it getting to a point where an HR supervisory agent is sending out performance review requests and is actually doing the performance reviews as well? So if bots are writing the reviews, then bots could be doing the reviews as well.
Yeah, I think I think the imagination is running wild, in terms of what we even do in the future. There's some people think that all we have to do in the future is just be at the beach and let the agents do all the work behind the scenes. I don't think that's actually the way to think about it. I feel humans are going to play a significant role in how companies run. The key decisions are all still made by humans. It's just we have more in our toolkit. I mean, I don't really see AI as anything more than more and more sort of building blocks that we have available to us to do great work.
Yeah. So Arvind, what are some areas where you would advise customers to not use either a Glean or in general enterprise AI, right? I mean, it could be structured data, could be math or logic type things, but there is I was talking to a CIO of a financial institution, and they said half the time job is to work with the users to tell them what AI cannot do, because there is a bit misconception that from every function, everything that the job entails, AI can do.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, AI is still probabilistic and not fully accurate. So if you're trying to actually make really mission critical decisions, where you need precise answers and data, that's where you can use AI as a helper, but not as something that you rely on, because it can easily make mistakes, it can hallucinate. So numbers, when you're playing with numbers, that is still a weak area for LLMs, but I think I would actually change it a little bit, in terms of for a CIO, at a large enterprise. I think first things instead of thinking about these really big overarching sort of transformation ideas, I think first you have to win small, in my opinion. And I think to go department by department and actually I would be happy with some small wins in next quarter. So simple things where we know that yes, AI can actually do this. For example, in a legal team, if you're trying to review contracts, how about you get the first version of redlining done by AI? In engineering, somebody submits a new piece of code. How about AI generates the first round of code review? And these are here you're not really dependent on AI to do the right things, but you're basically getting it to make you go twice as fast. And that's a small win in one way, but it's also a significant win because you're already 2x with human fully in the loop, make big impact without actually worrying about what AI can do versus not.
Makes sense. So are there questions in the audience for Arvind? Okay, I think we have one there.
Thank you so much. Large public SaaS companies are starting to be valued as if they will be disintermediated by AI, with the value being instilled in the data versus the use case or UI in which their users operate. And I'm just curious, Could enterprise SaaS companies or the systems of record specifically transition themselves into a walled garden in order to advance their own agentic offerings and prevent competition?
Yeah, and the ERP systems tried that as well previously, and I think every time, I think it has been proven that customers own the data. So if you are a customer of any of these products, push back. I think there was a question over there. Could we get a mic over there, please?
Hi, some background to my question. You mentioned you have a 5-year head start in autonomous or utility agents. So you must have some pretty decent performing out-of-the-box agents. And they're probably trained across multiple enterprises. Let's say, for example, the HR review agent that you mentioned could be trained across multiple banks. You would bring it here. We would specially train it with Citi data. So that's the prelude to the question. My question has 2 parts. What are some of the key performance metrics in an autonomous agent which you think are appropriate to use to gauge the performance of the agent? And the second part of the question, how much uplift do you typically observe between an out-of-the-box agent optimized across multiple enterprises and a more specialized agent, perhaps tuned to Citi data? Thank you.
Yeah. So let me start with the second part first. So like every business and your business processes are very bespoke in nature. So in fact, we with our agent platform, we actually have 30 to 50 very popular agents that actually all businesses can use, and we ship that as part of our agent platform. But we actually don't even call them agents. We actually call them agent templates because we know that they're not actually going to work for you right away. But you can actually start with them as a starting point, and then in a no-code way, you can then actually make it really work for your company, for the way you run your business processes. So that's actually that's a given. Agents are going to be very bespoke. Every customer is going to actually have their own versions. The idea with AI is that there'll be enough framework and infrastructure that vendors like us provide to use that makes it super easy for you to do that, and actually make it easy for you to build those agents without the need of looping in your technology teams to build those agents. It's something that the business teams can actually just themselves go and build these agents. Now, in terms of how do you evaluate these agents? Again, agents is a completely open-ended spectrum in terms of how many agents there can be. In Citi, I would assume that in the fullness of time, you're going to have tens of thousands of these agents running inside every business process, making them better over time. And so there is nothing common in some ways between an agent in the retail team versus an agent in the investment bank team. They're completely different things. So how do you evaluate? So that's a framework question. So in Glean, when you actually get these agents, you actually are also getting some mechanisms to actually build evaluation sets. And then Glean will actually run those evaluations on a periodic basis, give you insights into agent performance. And you, again, as a builder, when you are building that agent, you get to control that process of what does that evaluation set look like, and how do you want to sort of rate these agents.
Great. We're at time, so really, really appreciate. Thank you, Arvind, for coming. And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.